Okay, I don't mean this to sound negative,
Okay, you've started in a very negative way.
but do you think that your hair is receding?
It is. Well, this part, it is going back for sure.
So you think you'll be bald like your dad?
I don't think I'll be bald like my dad because I'm pretty sure that hairlines come from mother's side.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't think so. My
Hmm.
dad shaved his head early though. Like he was shaving his head before he started to go bald. So
Mm.
I think
But because he
now
knew he
probably.
was going bald.
Well, no, I think it was like a. I think it was actually just a I can't be bothered sort of nature to it. Like he just didn't want to have to think about it.
And then nature was like, well, if you can't be bothered with me, I
Well,
can't be bothered with you.
I think that genuinely, like at a certain point now, if he tried to regrow it, it would be not everywhere it used to be.
Yeah. Does
But
it worry
I
you?
don't. I
Do
mean,
you think about it?
I would lie if I said that I didn't know, like if I hadn't
Mm.
seen that. And whenever you see like a hair at the bottom of the shower, that you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I just like shampooed, and now there's a couple of hairs down there. It's like that's not what used to happen. But at the same
Mm.
time, like the hair that I do have is like very intact. Like
Yeah, it looks great.
I get told by the hairdresser all the time how thick the hair I have is. So it's not like
Okay.
it's not like everywhere is just disappearing into wispiness and it's like let's call it now and shave my head. No,
No,
it's
I don't
just
think
like
you're
the shape
there.
of it is
Yeah,
moving.
I think it might be the reflection of the light just hitting that shiny
Well, and also because
noggin of
I'm
yours.
sweaty because I just ran through the sun to be here for the podcast.
Okay, well, we all appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's an interesting thing, the bald thing, because apparently women find bald guys more attractive. I mean, that was just a survey that came out
That-
in 2021.
sure.
But like, it is interesting that like men can just go bald and you don't even think about it. But you see a woman go bald, you see, Jada Pinkett Smith or whatever, and it's just like, ugh.
But the thing is that women women aren't going bald in the way that men are going
Yeah,
bald, right? Like they're
no, exactly. What is that about?
what is that about? That's
I
interesting.
think there's a lot of talk about, how women have to
I
give
mean, because
birth
men
and
can get alopecia as well, right? And we're not talking about women with alopecia. We're talking about like just
yeah.
general aging. You don't tend to
Well,
see
what's the
women.
difference? What's the
Well,
difference?
alopecia is like actual hair follicles falling out, right? Like it's like
Right.
a medical condition,
And
isn't it?
baldness is just the
Baldness is just
inability to
like
grow
genetic.
hair.
I think baldness is just like a genetic because alopecia is like eyebrows and everything, right? Isn't it?
Mm. I mean, I'm
I don't
not a
know.
scientist.
Well, but I think it is an interesting observation that women don't seem to go bald in the way that men go bald. Like that's you're right that you
Yeah.
don't see like the typical 75, 85-year old granddad is, not much up there. Some do, but a lot of people don't. But then the women, you don't see many grandmas where it's just like you got the
Yeah.
friar tuck going on.
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
doesn't. I don't know why that is.
And I wonder if it was part of our evolution, if it was like women just go bald as much as men do, then we would kind of adapt and we wouldn't see it like as a negative thing now. Like we would just be like, oh yeah, like how men are
Right? Yeah.
seen
If
as
it
like
wasn't.
you can retain your masculinity if even in some ways
But if
it's
that was the case,
improved.
why are so many? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Why are so many women attracted to bald men then? Like if it was tied up with a masculinity thing.
Well, maybe it's got something to do with testosterone.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just because men gave a lot more noogies, and that sort of just
Yeah.
disproportionately affected that side of things. You don't really see like many teenage girls going around giving noogies to each other.
Yeah, and it's not only man to man; it's like saber-toothed tiger. You see those pictures of
Yeah,
saber-toothed tigers with a
like
Neanderthal just going, "Oh,
like
you cheeky
in a
cunt,"
headlock. Yeah.
you know. And it's like over years we've just kind of evolved to adapt to it.
Yeah. Oh, what about you? Are you seeing any receding of that
Absolutely
beautiful
not.
hairline?
Thank you. I'm not. I'm not worried about that at all. I got strong hairlines on both my mum and my dad's side. I've got too much hair. If you ask me.
Well, not on your chest.
You're right. I don't have any hair on my chest. It's getting itchy. It's getting really itchy.
Oh, you're in the grow back phase.
Yeah, it's not great. But you know what? I know you're about to do the intro there.
No, I wasn't.
But you know
I was
what?
just taking a weird, long, paused breath.
You know how some guys who work out, they'll shave their chest to make their muscles pop a bit more.
Really?
Yeah, that's why like a lot of guys shave their bodies because it like shows their muscles more.
Really?
But that didn't work. That did not work for me. Thought that would be the silver lining.
I suppose that if you have like a fuzz, then you might not see the definition as much. I sort of see it. If that's really what you need, though, then I think you probably
I think the Tom Selleck thing, Tom Selleck in the 80s, big broad chest, kind of works out a little bit. Got a bit of definition there, but like just a huge rug. That's what I'm about, Nick.
Yeah. Can you actually put like a button up? Because I don't like being able to see this sort of like whiteboard underneath your head, which just...
I've gone for the real like 60s dad who's emotionally shut down, and maybe like those dads in the 60s in the movies that like representing like the astronaut but like in their home life.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You do have a very Sellecky vibe actually, with like a singlet and a shirt on top. Yeah.
Thank you. Hey, Lauren just needs to grab her car keys.
Well, I just need to do an intro, but that didn't stop you from interrupting.
You do that.
Okay, welcome to Deep Forward, everybody. Michael's not here, and so I'm just speaking to myself, and that's actually thrown me for a loop because normally this is a podcast about two people interacting, but today it's just about one person speaking to a fan. Sitting through the internet with me this week, nobody, because I'm by myself in the most important part of this, the intro song. My name's Nick. I'm doing great. I hope you all are too.
You know what's funny about that is that there is actually a fan behind me, like an actual fan.
So a pedestal fan.
On many levels. Well done. Hi, Nick. Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hey, how we doing?
What's going on?
Good to see you. Hey, can I tell you?
Now we're recording. Yeah. All right. Let's do your thing.
Well, you're gonna just bullshit, or are you gonna like story?
No, I'm not gonna story, but you speak.
Well, I just had a nice sort of follow up to what we're just talking about. We're talking about hairlines, talking about balding people, talking about my dad. I just thought that you would find this an interesting little development because my dad quite recently retired end of last year. Now in this new phase of life, trying to work out what that means, how to, after 50 years of 9 to 5, Monday to Friday working out.
You're going to tell me he's come out?
Stop, you're projecting again. Trying to work out the life rhythms now has been an interesting new thing. So working out whether he's going to be like a writer or, like what hobbies will pick up. We already know he's like getting into gaming, as I think I've mentioned previously. So he's on his PS5.
Don't tell me he's going to start a podcast.
He's not starting a podcast, but what he has started is piano lessons.
Oh, lovely.
So Dad, after many years of being a huge music lover, famously into the Triple J Hottest 100 and listening to like modern music, gone to a couple of Radiohead concerts with us.
Yep,
quite a modern guy, but never had any music background, never played an instrument, never read music, just loved music. And now he's retired and now he's got time on his hands and he said, oh, you know what? I'd like to learn the piano. So my dad has now started piano lessons. Found a tutor, a woman coming around to the house, giving classes, and he's using the piano that my sister and I both learned to play piano on 20 years ago to learn piano himself.
Look at that.
Yeah.
And love that. Long-time listener, first-time player.
First-time player. Very true. So he's learning his scales. He's getting his finger stuff going, like all the music theory, readings, like sheet music now, and like the stave and all that kind of stuff. And I had a call from him this week where he was like, oh, hey, quick question. And in my head, I was like, oh, this might be like a gaming thing. This might be, like a tech thing or whatever. And he says, how do you play a staccato minim? And I was like, one, really good question. Two,
great question.
very different space for a conversation with my dad before. I've never had music theory questions. I've never expected those
Ground.
words from his mouth before.
I've forgotten what a minim is. Is it a is it a
It's,
is it a 1.5 note?
no, so a minim is 2 crotchets. So it's not a whole
Two
note.
crotches.
Two minims and a
2
bar
beats.
of 4/4. Yeah, 2 beats.
2 beats.
So playing a staccato minim is weirdly contradictory, which he was like, I don't understand.
What kind of beginner's book is he?
I agree. I was like,
from?
that's actually a very good question, and I'm not sure there's a rational answer. I believe staccato technically means played at like half the duration. But at that point, just write a fucking crotchet and be done with it. Anyway.
Yeah, but do you let it ring out? This is interesting stuff for everyone, isn't it?
Well, for the music nerds out there, I believe the answer is you play it at half speed and then there's a rest in the remaining half. So technically, you wouldn't let it ring out, I think. I think you would play a crotchet and then rest.
There you go. Okay.
But it's only for the tutor.
Call in if you know.
Yeah. But I just thought, given that your dad is a music teacher and you've had that dynamic, no doubt, across your entire life as someone who plays instruments, it's been quite exciting to hear my dad jump into a new hobby like this and to have that kind of language now.
Yeah, that's very nice. It's weird because you're kind of teaching your dad in a way, like you're able to teach your dad some stuff.
Yeah, I'm not his tutor, but yes, I can advise on that stuff. Yeah,
and that is a dynamic that I am just dying for in my. I want my parents to learn off me so badly.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's going to happen. My dad's like he's a jazz musician. He's a jazz guy. He prizes technicality over everything. And I got into like ambient music, and I'm trying to like teach him, show him that like you don't need to have 15 chords in a particular phrase for it to be interesting.
It can be soundscapes, it can be texture, it can be loose, it can be texture.
But that's not really working, I don't think. But maybe one day.
Well, maybe with our Christmas songs every year, we're just opening his mind a little bit more to the possibilities of what music can be.
Yep, or closing it.
Or reaffirming his strong beliefs.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, that's weird to be a hyper-technical jazz musician, isn't it? Like, isn't sort of by the nature of jazz some degree of improvisational, like fuck the rules, flippancy? Isn't that sort of part of the...
Yeah, I get what you're saying. There's like a looseness to it, but I think within that looseness, there's still like, it seems like a jungle. To some people, jazz can seem like a jungle of sound.
Yeah.
A sonic jungle, if you will.
Yeah.
But I think within that, there's actually like a lot of parameters there. There might be more notes in the scale than what you're used to, but there are still parameters there, and there's a lot of complexity within that loose improvisation.
Yeah, and it's improvisation around a form that everyone knows and understands, right? Like you need to know the rules in order to know how to break them.
But I've been thinking about Tom York again this week, loving the new Spile album, just absolutely rinsing that to death. I need to stop. It's like drugs. It's like I'm addicted
and
to
like
meth.
Drugs, you will not give them up.
I will not give them up until one of us dies. But Tom York is the exception to what you just said. You just said you need to know the rules in order to break them. But Tom York famously doesn't know the rules, and he is breaking them because he doesn't know the rules. Like Pyramid Song, I sent you that clip on Instagram today or yesterday, whatever, about some guy trying to transcribe Pyramid Song on piano.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I just realized, sorry, this is really boring to all the non-music lovers, but Pyramid Song, I didn't realize that it's because it's like 1, 2, 3, 4 beats or bar phrases. Do you know what I mean? Like
it's
1,
four
2, 2.
bars of 4/4.
It's built like a pyramid.
What?
You know how the phrasing of the song, it kind of extends, so you have like 1 beat, and then you have 2 beats in the next bar, and then 3 beats, and then 4 beats. It's built like a pyramid. The beats themselves. Nick's just miming the song. Just
I don't think I understand what you're getting
okay.
at there.
Well,
So they're dotted. Okay, fuck it. Let's do it. Let's getting fucking deep into music theory here. Pyramid song is dotted crotchets, right? Swung dotted crotchets across 16 beats, right? 4 bars of 4/4.
yeah,
So it's dun dun dun, right?
yeah.
That is a dotted crotchet, and then
But let's even
minim
call them
effectively
pulses.
is okay.
1, 2, 3.
Da
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 da.
da da da.
No,
So I think it's
I'm just
3 4
realizing my
2, isn't it? In
yeah,
terms
my
of
feelings.
beats.
Yeah. All right, that's the last time I take music theory from Reddit.
Well, look, if you need some
But anyway,
help, my dad can jump on and can explain some of this to you,
God, my point
or
was
your dad.
before I no,
What would be
my dad actually
most
really likes
offensive?
Pyramid Song.
Well, I can see that. What would be the most offensive thing for you if my dad came on and told you the answer, or if your dad came on and told you the answer? What would you like least?
I'd like least your dad, but I'd find more annoying my dad.
Okay, so different flavors
Yeah.
of disgust.
Different flavor of disgust. Yeah. But my point was, Nick, that, Tommy boy, our Tommy, he doesn't know the rules, and he's creating music that doesn't fit within any of those parameters, and that's part of what we love. Like some even with the smile, like the time signatures, there are some time I can't remember particular, but
they've
like,
gone wild on them. There's a lot of 11s.
but then they've got Johnny, and they've got even Tom Skinner. He's just a phenomenal.
He's an incredible drummer.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lauren, we're watching the film clip to Friend of a Friend, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and Lauren thought that Tom Skinner was super hot, which really annoyed me, ruined the song for me. Yeah.
Now he can't listen to that album anymore.
Now it's dog shit to me. But yeah. Anyway, I can't remember what the point was. Maybe we should move on from music nerdery.
Well, it was just that my dad's got a new hobby, really, and that's exciting.
Yeah. Good on you, Jeff. Looking forward to hearing some of his compositions. I reckon he's got some Brian Eno's
where
kind of vibes in him.
From?
They're both bald guys.
Okay, sure.
In their 60s.
Yeah, well, 71. Yep.
Ooh. Okay. Well, I think of him as in his 60s.
And I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
All right. So we're speaking on the, I don't know if this is of interest to you, but I just found out this morning that Alexei Navalny died.
Oh, the Russian opposition.
The opposition leader to Putin. I just think it's, I don't know. I recently watched the documentary on him. Which was like nominated for an Oscar last year, or whatever, or won. It's just like, it's just fucking crazy. I know there's like heaps going on, and there's like part Palestine, and apparently there's something happening in Israel as well. And I just like, for some reason, like there's certain things that like just jump out at me, and yeah, just like it rattled me a little bit. But and I honestly, I'm just gonna hot take here, Nick. I think Putin had something to do with his death.
Okay, should I bleep who you think did it just for our own safety?
Maybe just modulate my voice.
Okay.
When I say
the fact that I've introduced your name at the start of the podcast and in every podcast prior.
I don't think they're digging that deep.
Okay, sure. But what if AI summarizes it? Like the podcast app now will be doing transcripts.
Dude, I've tried to put deep thought into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT has little to no idea what we are.
That's actually comforting. That is comforting.
Is it? I wish we got a mention. I wish they knew something.
Sure. Even if it was just to say not really of much interest to anyone. It'd just nice to know people are talking about us.
Exactly. It's just nice to be noticed, even if it's for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. The outcome with what's his name? Navalny,
yeah.
Is both entirely predictable, still shocking and sad, but the the jarring thing, I think, is seeing the clips of him talking about what to do next, because he knew
Yeah,
it was coming. Like, you
he
couldn't be
knew.
this person and knew it wasn't going to happen. Knew it was going to happen.
Exactly, but that it also makes his cause and his character so
Noble.
yeah, it's like he knew it. Like he there's that footage of him, he got poisoned with Novichok, I think it's how you pronounce, a nerve agent which the Russians famously kill off people with. And there's he was just on a passenger airline, what do you call those? Commercial airline. And he's just ingested this Novichok, and he's like crying out, and it's pretty uncomfortable to watch. But then even then, like 2 days later, he's back and he's just like, we will keep fighting, and he just kept going. And the problem is with like killing off, I just think, I mean, I'm sure Putin's got his reasons, but
Yeah. Are you giving notes?
I'm just trying to backtrack from before that
Sure.
the other person, whatever the other person said,
Mm-hmm.
that you kind of make these people a martyr if you kill them, don't you? It's like, seems more dangerous to fucking kill them. It seems like it's basically in broad daylight.
Yeah, I mean, he
It's
was
like
already like imprisoned, right? Like,
yeah, he's under your care, so you killed him.
yeah.
And I think they're claiming that he had an aneurysm, or he
Yeah.
tripped and fell.
Yeah.
The old tripped and fell.
Yeah.
Don't know what happened to him. He bumped his head and he didn't get up.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't have much to say on that. It's just I just think it's wild.
The other thought that I had off the back of that, which this is semi-hyperbolic, but at the same time more worryingly real than I would hope, is the fact that Trump talking about what he's going to do when he comes back into power and all this kind of thing, and how I don't know if you're following any of his multitude of legal cases at the moment. One of them is about whether or not he has immunity for anything he did during his presidency now that he's out of office. And he's trying to make this argument that, the only way that you should punish people is by the Senate. What's the word I'm looking for? Not indicting, impeaching. By the Senate impeaching him and removing him from office. That's the only mechanism that a crime committed by the president should be treated with, which is a bad argument and one that's been thrown out. But the judges, in interrogating this line of questioning, said, so if you wanted to order SEAL Team 6 to go and kill Biden, you believe that the only way that crime could be punished was if the Senate then impeached you. And they're like, yes, that's what we think. So that's the role of the Senate. And it's clearly just nonsensical, because obviously that kind of behavior just ends up in dictatorship. And the thought that the Senate, who just witnessed you order murder of another politician, would all come together to be like, no, actually, we need to get rid of you, when they might be murdered as well. Like, the whole thing falls apart. But it's crazy to even have this kind of conversation in the mix at all when we're talking about the powers of the Western presidents of America. When you've got such a sharp contrast to that kind of happening in the Putin context, and these other places that are not democracies, to have any whiff of this in America is truly terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, he's saying things like, Putin should have every right to do whatever they want to people who don't pay their debts back to Russia, and
attack NATO countries.
Not saying anything new, completely unhinged. Also, just crazy that we're talking about this again. I can't believe that we've got two of the same guys running again, the oldest guys in history, I'm told, to run. Jon Stewart said, shattering the record broken by them previously. It's just insane. Biden is obviously losing his marbles, and I mean, it's just, Trump's got to be the luckiest guy in history, man. Like, he's bulletproof. He
Well,
is
except for the
bulletproof.
$500 million he now needs to pay for the failed, criminal charges that he's just lost, the 2 trials this year.
But I mean, he's not stopped. It's not going to stop him. He
Well, I
can't be
think it starts to
stopped.
be cumulative, though. Like some of these things start to become real impediments. Banks won't lend to him anymore. He needs $500 million. The likelihood that that money is coming from legitimate sources or from his own coffers is very low. So I think you'll start to see some of these issues pile up. But it is crazy that it's happening. I agree.
Man. Yeah.
Can we touch briefly on the Jon Stewart thing and the Biden thing? How did you find his return?
Man, I told you that what was the other show he did?
The Problem with Jon Stewart, which I think we both tried to watch and both immediately failed.
Yeah, and for some reason he's just like back into it. I like that he didn't really address it. He didn't really address him coming back. He didn't linger on it.
Yeah.
What did he say? He said, I guess you're wondering where I've been or something. And then he just kind of made some flippant joke and then moved on and just got straight into it.
Yeah.
So I was laughing out loud, and I don't really laugh out loud at, TV shows apart from Good Grief season 2.
Thank you.
I just thought it was fucking awesome. It was great. It was everything that I missed.
I actually was slightly surprised. I had mixed feelings about it because from the one side of things, I was like, this is nice. This is comfortable. This is like I watched Jon Stewart for a good 10 years, like consistently, like most episodes.
Same.
Plus Colbert. Like I that was just like religious for a decent part
John
of that.
Oliver,
like
all the
John Oliver
branches of that tree.
Yeah, but John Oliver came later. Like in that era when it was Colbert and Stewart back to back. Like that news team of Samantha Bee and Jason Jones and Rob Riggle and all the people that they had come up through that place, like incredible comedians who all just went off and did other things. But a real institution all the way through the like the uni years for me, like real formative stuff.
Yeah. Same.
And so from one perspective, when I watched that, I was like, yeah, this feels good. This feels nice. This is good. But on the other side of it, I was surprised at the resistance I had to some of his arguments about. I found the tenor of the like both sides this kind of thing to rub again, like it rubbed me the wrong way a little bit because
more.
The Biden thing, I think on the one hand is totally legitimate. An 81-year-old is incredibly old to be doing the hardest job in the country. But at the same time, it's such a false dichotomy to spend so much time focusing on Biden when he's done the job for the past 4 years. You can look at his record. You can look at actual things that he's enacted, that he's passed, the state of the economy, the state of the, improvements in healthcare or, immigration or whatever you want to, because he's done the job. You can actually look at his record and his actual competence. And to make a big deal about one Trump hires special counsel report about an interview in which he forgot something seems so minor when you put it up against the shit that dribbles out of Trump's mouth every single day. And to make a deal about Biden's competence when you're staring at someone who's confusing the names of, who was there on January 6th, like Nikki Haley instead of Nancy Pelosi, and the slurring and weird use of words and like just general brain vomit that comes out of Trump at all times. It felt it felt unjustified. Yeah, disingenuous or unjustified or just that sort of really irritating centrist thing where it's like, well, they've both got problems. It's like, but yes, they've both done the job before. They've both done it before. Yeah. It's not in a vacuum. Trump had the job. Everything went to shit. He literally is under indictment for so many crimes at the moment. Biden has also done the job. Is he the most inspiring person? No. But we can actually look at them as people who have both done things and compare their records and what the likely outcome's going to be going forward,
Mm.
instead of this like weird thing where it's like, oh, but imagine, what could go wrong if they continue to get dementia. Well, we can just fucking look at what they've done. I don't know.
Yeah.
I found it very off-putting in a weird way.
I agree. Firstly, that there is a false dichotomy there, and anytime you're comparing Biden with Trump, Trump is winning out of even just out of the comparison
Yeah.
because you're putting them on
You're
some sort
normalizing
of
it. Yeah.
level ground, which there just isn't.
Yeah.
I didn't share your annoyance with that, but I think part of it is maybe that like it's a comedy program, and it's like maybe, and this again maybe part of Trump's you know accidental genius is that it's kind of like hack or like tired to make fun of Trump. So he kind of wins because it's like, oh, we're making fun of Trump again. There could be something in there. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like, I agree. I agree that the comparison there is not fair to Biden, and Biden does have a strong track record. But I do think there are also there should be valid questions, irrespective of Trump running for office, irrespective of that comparison. There should be valid questions over does America really need or want a president that's 81 years old
Yeah.
and who is clearly faltering mentally? I think that's a valid thing, but I do see your point.
So the thing that I wondered in retrospect about the Jon Stewart stuff was whether the evolution of that medium in the years since he's gone had affected that take on it. Because like I really like Last Week Tonight, and obviously John Oliver's take on that style is like a deep dive onto one issue, which is weirdly sort of what Jon Stewart then went and tried to do later, but not successfully, or not with comedy. And similarly, the Sam B approach to the Daily Show, and even the Trevor Noah approach to the Daily Show, they were kind of different afterwards. And the same with something like the late night shows, where like Seth Meyers now regularly delves into long political analysis stuff, which was not actually the territory of like the Conan of old or the Letterman of old. They didn't really do that kind of thing. Whereas nowadays, those hosts, it's sort of part of their repertoire.
But all of those are explicitly left leaning.
Yeah, I mean, we're only talking left leaning because there aren't any right wing TV hosts, right?
Yeah.
Or at least comedians. But the point being that they, I think, have a firmer position, and I think the Stewart dynamic of sort of snarky remove, like I'm above this a little bit. They're bad. This is dumb. That kind of like.
You're saying Stewart's that?
That Stewart's sort of vibe is a little bit of like above it all, and it's part of the idea of him being like, I'm just a comedy show. Like I don't have to, don't take me too seriously. I think part of that sort of both sides of snark is what it used to be, but nowadays I think the taste, or at least my taste, for the kind of political comedy that you see on a Seth Meyers or on a John Oliver is very much more opinionated, where they've chosen a side and explained why they believe that, rather than sort of sitting in the middle and just like lobbing pot shots at everything, if you know what I mean. And I think I felt a little bit like that had dated somewhat. I wasn't as interested in just a snark rather than a opinion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. Are you just saying that you want to watch things that you agree with already, or do you think that the other side, because you think, and I'm not saying this as a criticism of your argument here at all, But because the other side is kind of invalid in a kind of a philosophical way or an ethical way, even, that you don't think that lobbing shots at both sides from a height evenly is even remotely fair.
I think it's both of those things. I think that, for one, the trying to sell the right as having like a rational platform these days does a disservice to general democracy, because it's really not based on a platform of like progress, right? It's like it's literally like a personality platform now, where they are behind Trump because Trump is Trump, not because Trump has an economic plan that they prefer over the liberal budgets, right? Like
Yeah.
there's that side of things. So you can't really compare the two in a way that does either of them a service. But also just the lobbing of shots at like left policies, when the right policies are so blatantly worse, and they come in and they're gonna like immediately use the Justice Department to imprison their enemies, and meanwhile the left is like, we'd like to maybe spend a little bit more on the healthcare industry or whatever. Like, it's not even hyperbolic to say those are drastically different worlds that you'd live in, and to treat that as deserving of equal ridicule seems just far-fetched to me. And to be fair, in retrospect, if I was Jon Stewart and I look back at my 2015 coverage of Trump, and he's not alone in this, because no one really for most of that year thought that Trump was really going to be the guy, that there was any chance that this guy could come in. So everyone sort of needed to do a little bit of retrospective examination of how that happened. But they were so glib about him in that era. And if I was him, I would not have. The lesson I would have taken is maybe to not underestimate the power of a personality and a xenophobic base or something like that. And I don't know, it just felt a little bit like they were sort of making that mistake again.
Well, I mean, you got to. The other thing is that, like, the Democrats are in power, so you do kind of need to be. You need to serve them something.
Yeah, and I mean, to refer to your question as well, I'm not against hearing opinions that I disagree with. Like, if Jon Stewart thinks, for instance, that some form of, I don't know, like that Israel needs our support or something like that, yeah, fucking tell me your thoughts. Make that argument. Do your jokes. Take that stance. Explain the opinion, and I'll agree or not agree with it. Do what you want.
But he was attacking Biden's personality or his
Well, I think he had that sort of sit on the fence. Like, both folks need to come to the table. Both people need to like work together to get to this sort of thing. I just feel like it's a little out of touch with what that American democracy is at the moment, right? Like, that's just not. That's not how they operate. You can't bring people to the table here when their entire policy is just actively prevent anything the left wants to do, or try and get in a guy who wants to trash all of the systems and structures of that government.
But if
I hear you. So I just take it aside. Have an opinion, make your case, tell your jokes. I just don't want him to sort of float above it all, like it's all a joke and like it's all the same, because I don't think that's true anymore, and I don't think that works for me anymore. That's just
I think
me.
I think there are clues that Jon Stewart is kind of drifting into centrism. He went on Colbert and kind of parroted the Wuhan lab theory for COVID, and and I think there's like little clues that maybe he is more centrist than maybe the Daily Show has drifted into themselves, with Trevor Noah and stuff over the years. But he got a huge amount of views for his first for his first show. Like he got what 19.5 million views.
Oh, is that right? On that
He
on
got
the YouTube.
huge.
Wow.
Well, not on the YouTube. I
Just like
saw
from
an
the
article
air.
about it.
Right, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I think
maybe
a
there's
lot
a
of
space
people,
for it.
yeah. But I think a lot of people would check it out because of exactly what I described, right? Like
Yeah,
an affection for 10 years ago.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, the views don't say anything for truth. It just says what the appetite is, and if there is some sort of, I think the lines are getting blurrier these days, or at least, I think there's an exhaustion to, are you left or are you right? And I think there's this huge gap in the middle that is filled by Joe Rogan and Sam Harris and things like that. That I think it's kind of taking those people who feel disenfranchised or disillusioned with the binary system that's in place, and I think that's a huge market. And I think Jon Stewart probably he's seen as a one of the leaders of the left, but he's also still not rejected by people in the right. I think people on the right don't hate Jon Stewart in the same way they hate Colbert.
Really? You think more people on the right hate Colbert than hate Stewart?
That's just a hunch.
I don't know.
But I don't know.
Because like Colbert's now the lead of CBS, which is a very sort of old person channel, and I would describe as like a slightly conservative as a TV channel. Like that's where your NCIS is and those kind of like old person procedurals.
The audience is conservative. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would have thought there's a little bit of like Colbert, while being left leaning for very clearly, does a good enough job as a talk show host in being a very centrist sort of watchable person. Whereas I think Jon Stewart, having now actively participated in various like post TV show causes and that kind of thing, would have attempted to interact with politicians to get certain causes he cared about resolved. But he had 15 years before that in which he actively mocked just about every Republican nightly on the news, right? I don't know how many friends he had from that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of talking out my ass, obviously. But will you watch again, or
I'll check it out again? I also feel just kind of bad for the other correspondents. Like, spend a year, like
I was
everyone else, kind of hoping that it was going to be them. You had a couple.
They still got 4 nights.
Yeah, but it's
overshadowed.
It's completely overshadowed. They haven't announced so if I'm Jordan Klepper or if I'm Desi Lydic or whatever, Roy Wood Jr. obviously was hoping for it and then disappeared because he was fucked around by all the year without a serious host. If I was them and then they come in and now it's 4 nights a week is us, but no one's going to watch that. Everyone's just going to tune in once a week like they would for Last Week Tonight or something because John's on. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised Jordan Klepper's still there. It's like Saturday Night Live. the actors on that show, that they seem to churn them over. Every 5 years or so, there's a new batch of actors doing SNL.
There's new hires every year, every single year. But yeah, most of them sort of tend to last 3 to 5 years, I think.
Yeah. No, we'll see. I loved it.
I'll be curious to see what they talk about next week.
Yeah. What else, Nick?
Well, we're sort of just on bits and pieces at this stage. I'm not sure I'd launch into a topic yet.
When you ask me, do I have any topics?
Yeah.
Do you ever expect me to say yes?
I would like one time for you to be like, let's talk cement production. Let's talk the history of gibbons. One time I'd just like for you to surprise me with something where it's like, I've done my research and here, I'll lead this episode. Sit back and come along for this ride with me.
I can do that. I've got heaps. I got fucking stacks, dude. but I feel like it's going to be met with mockery because the things I want to talk about are things like ghosts. Okay, and you want to talk about cement and roads, which I agree was a great episode last week, and thank you for everyone who wrote in because we did get comments saying it was a really fascinating discussion about roads.
Weirdly,
and I was like, "You're damn right, it was."
Yeah, and you're like, and that's all thanks to me.
It's all thanks to us, dude. We can talk about anything.
Weirdly enough, my sister listened to last week's episode for, I'm pretty sure, the first time ever. And it just so happened to be that was the episode that we talked about my fish where's the juice in all that cup.
Oh,
so
wow.
she heard the one
That's
where
nice.
I was talking about the gift that she gave me. And
That's
it's
how
just
we
a
get
weird
them.
coincidence.
We sprinkle in shout outs in the hope that
in
if you
the
listen, you
hope.
get a shout out. You think, do I always get a shout out? And then you go back through.
Yeah, we
mining for
do.
the shout out.
Ben Williams talk about you every week. We'll just see whether he's
Blast from the
listening.
past.
See
Yeah.
if he's listening.
Okay. This might be something, I might be not. But like, have you noticed that with like young millennial women now in their like early to mid 30s, that there's like a real, a lot of them are getting into like astrology, or they take it really seriously, or like psychics. I have so many young female friends that like are going to see a psychic or going to get their tarot cards read.
Yeah.
I
have seen it and I don't get it.
What is like, I think there's got to be an explanation, and this is not to like genderize, but it's just like an observation that I've noticed. Like I was at drinks the other night, and one of my female friends had brought out tarot cards, right?
Yeah.
And I
actually physically brought tarot cards.
Yeah, and she was like, "Oh, should I get my? Does anyone want their like tarot read or whatever?" And I was kind of like, not in an aggressive way, not in like 2008 me way, but like I was kind of making fun of it a little bit, but like in a way that I didn't think that she was being serious. I thought it's like, oh, let's what if we read our tarot cards? Like that'll be fun. But like all the girls there, they were like, yeah, can you read mine? And then they were like taking it seriously and then getting into conversation about it. I've just noticed that like a lot of young women are just like really into astrology. And I'm sure that's obviously astrology has been around for ages, but like I'm just really noticing that it's like, yeah, it's like you can't really make fun of it. Like this is silliness.
It's weirdly, it's not just women either, because I remember in the Tinder days when I was dating, was 4 or 5 years ago now, that there was two things, and it was, you would see it regularly with enough regularity that I was irritated. It's the INFJ, the Myers-Briggs personality type stuff. So you would see that in the date. I'm an ENFJ, and you're like, oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
But secondly, like Virgo looking for Taurus, like looking for my Pisces, like, and it would come up enough that it's like, wow, you really do genuinely think that this is somehow informing your life,
your personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm baffled by it. Like I think
I would never
be
with a Leo. It's like, what is this?
I get it to a certain degree. It creates order out of chaos. Out of a chaotic world, it can put people in boxes and compartmentalize. And what just happened, Nick?
I spilled water on myself, Michael.
Oh no!
It's all over my
poor
shirt.
thing. Oh, it's all
wet t-shirt concert.
Concert.
Yeah, I play music. I get out my violin and just do a little bit of a trill while people squirt water bottles at me.
I like that idea just to as a way to make money. There's like B grade comedy movies. It's like wet t-shirt concert. It's like what?
Yeah, I mean it's got Will Ferrell energy, and I'm here for it.
Can't you wash a car like a normal person?
Yeah.
No, I'm playing Adagio in B major.
Let me put my singlet on.
Anyway, I don't know. What I was saying is that I get the appeal. I get the appeal of it to some degree, but it's the same kind of appeal to me as conspiracy theories. Like it's just creating order out of chaos, and it kind of reassures you. It's like, I don't know. There is also like this weird thing, and I might have brought this up before, that I know that there's, I know that the sweeping statements that horoscopes offer in terms of, okay, you're a Taurus, and this month look out for, what you're spending, or you're going to find love. I know that they're broad on purpose, but there are things that like do make me kind of like I can sometimes doubt whether my cynicism is appropriate to the level that I have cynicism, because some of them just seem, Geminis. I'm a Gemini, famously not a great star sign, a little
Really?
two-faced, a little flighty, a little like scattered, creative.
Okay.
I'm just giving myself.
Why do you know
I'm
so
just going to
many
lean
things about this?
because I am kind of fascinated by it.
Sure.
And this is kind of why I bring it up. It's like I have this thing in me. I have this curiosity towards fucking conspiracy theories, and I'm drawn to it. But I also have the other part. I also have the cynic, which is also a trait of Geminis.
Okay.
It's
great.
I've been told this many times. It's like,
You're such a Gemini.
I have been told that because I doubt. I express some skepticism over,
because you shit all over their tarot
they
readings.
go, oh, that's because you're a Gemini. I'm like, wow, this is a quite a circle that I've fallen into. I don't know. I just think it's a bit. I think normalize making fun of horoscopes.
Yeah, I think I think I've told this on the podcast previously, but I had a former colleague that I worked with who did like an internship at a newspaper back in the day. And she said that one of her first jobs when she was just getting started was to go to the bin, the horoscopes bin, and pull out 12 like little pieces of paper, little slips of predictions, and they would just randomly assign them to a horoscope each day. They would just draw them out of this big bin and write them up into the paper completely randomly with absolute just like, oh, we haven't used this one in a while. Which I fucking loved. But I think it is notable. I think it is actually worrying in a way. And in retrospect, we'll look back at this era and view it through the lens of the time when truth and reality became malleable. And I think that horoscopes and tarot and that kind of stuff, which are these very old sort of almost paganistic, ritualistic thing from previous centuries, that sort of went out of fashion for a while, have now come back around in a world where subjectivity is more important than objectivity. And I think that'll be sort of a defining feature of historical explorations of this time, is where your truth and my truth are different, and that's all right. And I can get meaning from horoscopes, and you can get meaning from tarot, and it doesn't matter whether you're a Gemini, or the fact that all of the positions of the astrological signs are all out of whack anyway. Like the zodiac stuff is wrong, just astronomically speaking. Doesn't matter, because you can just get the meaning from it you want, and you can get the truth from it you want, and you can live that life rather than deal with whatever actual reality is.
I think that's a really interesting point. And I think we're also seeing it like with social media, with AI now, we're obviously questioning if images are real, and
now
with
videos.
Sora. Is it Sora?
Yeah.
The Sora stuff, apart from the chair morphing into some sort of other
the mistakes
lounger.
Are fascinating. Yeah. Did you see the one of like spilling a glass of cherry juice or something?
No,
the AI knows that liquids spill out of glasses, but not how. So there's a cup, and then the cup tilts, and then all of a sudden there's like liquid all on the ground around it, and it spreads out, but it's not like falling out from the inside, because it doesn't understand the physics of how things change. It just understands like the visual shapes of what happened. So
that's adorable. It's like a baby's dream or something.
Yeah.
It's a baby that hasn't quite learned the word. I had this thought, Nick, not to jump around, but I had this thought that, like, you know how if you type in an image into AI and try and create an image through text, that the AI, it would just be like something would be slightly off. Like you'll be like Gwyneth Paltrow pushing a trolley at Kmart, and Gwyneth Paltrow will you still recognize that it's just Gwyneth Paltrow, but her eyes there'll be something off. But
Yeah,
that's like how we dream.
it is. It
Like
is
our
very dream
dreams are like
logic.
that.
Yeah.
It's like, and this maybe speaks to the truth of simulation theory. Maybe this is why we are in a simulation. It's part of it. Yeah, this is our. I don't know. That was kind of a stretch. But anyway, back to Luke. No, forget that. Forget that.
And I got
Get that
so
out of your head.
distracted, my brain started thinking, and I forgot to
think.
talk for a second.
Don't think. God, now I've fucking forgotten the actual.
We're
point.
talking about truth and social media and AI and reality and how everything's subjective now.
I think we are seeing, like, even with the alien stuff, right? Now, again, another area of intense interest for me. But I think there is this like feeling or this sense with people because of the amount that you have to question reality these days.
Yeah.
I think there is this. It seems to be this rise in conspiracy and what else what is real, or even just like foregoing logic in that sense and just going what is this all about. I think that there maybe there's some overlap. Obviously we're just talking out our ass here, armchair theories, but I'd love to see a graph on those two things.
You ready for this? Watch me bring this full circle. I think that you're totally right. The idea of like, oh shit, by the way, yeah, well, there's a shit ton of like UAP stuff and like aliens are real now, and like for real, like the government has known about this stuff and looked about it. Like that's wild. And as you say, it used to be the subjects of conspiracies. So how are we now meant to like believe that anything is real or not real when the things that were formerly tin hat nonsense are now, well, actually we do have a little bit that we could show you about that. So that destabilizes things. But here, I'll bring it full circle for you. I think the other aspect of this all is the media. It's the media failing to do its job to communicate truth, to actually pick up the torch and say, this is the reality. This is the objective answer as to what happened. And instead, because of, you look at things like the 24-hour news cycle, filling that time with opinion and with personalities rather than with reporting.
Yes.
Cutting actual newsrooms down, and all of a sudden the blurry line as to what's news, what's opinion, what's a journalist, what's a comedian, what's an op-ed column, what's the main page. All of this stuff just gets mixed up into a big stew. Google then comes along and does its AI summary of it and passes on the headlines. They get shared through a Facebook post and then retweeted and commented. And all of a sudden, the baseline like reality, like that steady foundation upon which we could all reflect and react to, that grounding of what truth was or what news was, has now been so fragmented and reshaped and retweeted and all that kind of stuff that we've lost a commonality of truth from which to react to, because now it doesn't matter what the objective thing is because there's no journalist there to tell you.
Exactly. I think, again, great point. Like, is there a way though to, because I agree with everything you said, but it just seems like we are at the very start of this exponential curve that is going to really explode in the next few years. And is there a way to put the genie back in the bottle, or is this just like what life is going to be like, forever, if not worse?
Who knows? That's why so many people are advocating for like regulation and for caution when it comes to the rollout of these like AI tools and things, because it's very hard to undo. And now you're seeing what like AI generated video can look like, which is
Yeah.
shockingly lifelike.
Yeah.
Still uncanny valley and still full of weird dream logic glitches and bugs and things in a way that's
Mm.
somewhat identifiable now. But there's
Yeah.
enough real and enough context that you could very easily, get a video of Biden ordering the, assassination of Trump and put it out there in a way that's like the voice of Biden will be emulated, the vision will be emulated, and then how the fuck do you know? Like, where does the world go when that's the achievable outcome for anyone with a laptop?
Yeah. I saw a clip the other day of Grand Theft Auto fucking 9 or whatever it is.
6.
And I was like, I haven't played it since the second one or the third one. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I'm so detached from the gaming world. You're obviously not.
Yeah.
But I'm like, holy shit, man. Like, these games are getting so fucking realistic.
Yeah.
It's
I'll actually send you through some clips because there is genuinely some like one for one lifelike video games out there now. Like photorealism has been achieved. That's in the rear mirror now. But there's also really interesting explosions of originality off the back of that.
Yeah, the creative side of all this new technology, including AI. Obviously, we focus a lot on like the dangers of AI, but there's also going to be this offshoot of creativity that people are going to use it for. People will always find creative ways to use tools, and it is exciting to think about the creative ways that like real artists will incorporate those tools into their art.
I mean, I wasn't specifically talking AI for the video game side of things, but I am curious. Do you think actual artists will use AI?
Yeah, of course they will. It's a tool. It's like it's like a hammer or a new type of paintbrush or something. It's like a synthesizer. It's like I think there's like resistance to it initially, and then people will just start using it. It'll just become normal, and they'll have to, and it will be good. It will be interesting.
But don't you think that there's a little bit more, like when they bring out a new hammer, the carpenter's not like, oh, I'm going to be out of a job soon if I let this hammer into the workforce. There's a little bit of a resistance there from artists against the AI side of things because it's been often built off their work without their permission or payment and then can be used to replace them, which is not true of like a nail gun.
Well, there's good art and bad art.
True.
I think there'll be like dehumanizing art in like the truest sense, where it's like, well, maybe dehumanizing is not the right word, but like anti-human art.
Yeah.
And then there'll be human art using AI.
Yeah. Yeah, fair.
I know it's a crazy world out there, Nick. Crazy world.
Good summary. You can say that at the end of any of our subjects. Any of our episodes. It's a crazy world.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why crazy. From this point onwards, all our podcasts will be done by AI models. Just train them on our past episodes and let them loose.
Yeah, probably be more interesting.
Be more consistent. If you've enjoyed this, well, make the most of it. Get on a bit of a run, start going through that past library. Plenty of those episodes there. This is episode 222. Which I find pleasing as a number. But why don't you go back and listen to 111 or, 99 or any of these other sort of fun number combinations. You can get in touch with us too if that's more your thing. You can send an email to deepthought@gmail.com. You can reach us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Spotify. You can listen to our tracks. You can listen to our pods. You can rate us 5 stars. All of this is important. All of it matters. And you'd be a better person for doing it. So please don't hesitate. Mm-hmm. Now, Michael, you have a hard out. You said this very clearly up front. Hard out. 4 o'clock in your
15
end. 15 mins. So
yes,
tell me.
So.
What?
15 minutes or so.
Also. Well, it can't be also because it's a hard out, Michael. We all understand what a hard out is. So.
Well, it's 4 o'clock-ish.
No.
I have to leave.
It's 4 o'clock on the fucking dot is what hard out means.
Well, Lauren's
That's
not
why
even
it's
back
hard.
yet.
Otherwise, you
So
just have an out.
okay, Nick. I have an out.
I apologize. I was a little bit angry.
Hardish.
I was a little bit unnecessary. So maybe I let some of my pre-existing feelings trickle into the podcast.
So dramatic.
I'd hate to bring things down at the end. But is there anything
let
you'd
me
like
bring things down.
Okay.
Let me bring things down.
What
We've got
about
weird news.
Oh, okay. I was going to set you up in such a nice way.
Okay, do it.
No,
Do
it's
it.
fine. Just play the fucking jingle.
In the news today from the Strange and Weird Fact File.
Well, for decades, only crackpots and crazy people believed in UFOs.
Deputies
That's what I
say
thought
the
anyway.
suspect told them he's been performing sex acts on animals since the
Tonight I
1970s.
told about my close encounter with the Yeti. Totally true.
A sticky situation at an airport in Tennessee after baggage was sprayed glass.
Turns out the government has been taking them seriously all along.
This is Deep Thought Weird News.
We got a hard out, Michael. We can't fuck around with second takes. We got a hard out.
All right. This weird news was sent in to us by the man known as Casper.
Hey, Casper.
No. From reputable, the trusted source known as Sky News.
Oh.
Headline. Pigeon suspected of being Chinese spy released by police in India after being detained for 8 months.
Okay. There's a
is
lot.
a real story.
There's a lot to work through there. Okay.
This is current as well.
This is current. This just happened.
Earlier.
Are we breaking this now?
Breaking news, baby. Detectives suspected the bird was involved in espionage after it was captured near a port in Mumbai. It was found with 2 rings tied to its legs, featuring words that appeared to be Chinese. The bird was detained by officers after it was captured in May last year near a port in Mumbai. News agency Press Trust of India.
They've been
reported.
interrogating this bird for 8 months.
Just, you should see the picture, Nick. It's brutal.
Haggard.
It's blindfolded. Detectives suspected the pigeon was involved in espionage and took it in before later sending it to Mumbai's Bai Sakabai hospital for animals. However, after 8 months in captivity, it emerged that the creature was an open watcher racing bird from Taiwan, which had escaped and flown to India. Police then approved the bird's transfer to the Bombay Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, bit late, where doctors set free the falsely accused bird on Tuesday. Pigeons have been used in spying and combat throughout history, including by UK forces in the First World War and Second World War to deliver messages. A pigeon called Gustav brought the first news of D-Day back to the UK after a correspondent wrote a report and attached it to the bird while landing on Sword Beach in Normandy on June 6, 1944. India has also previously detained the birds over security has previously detained birds over security fears. In 2020, suspicious police in Indian-controlled Kashmir captured a pigeon that belonged to a Pakistani fisherman, and an investigation found that the bird was not a spy and simply flown across the border between the countries. In 2016, another pigeon was detained after it was illegally
How often
found
is this
with a
happening?
note. In 2016, another pigeon was detained after it was allegedly found with a note that threatened Indian Prime Minister Modi.
Wow.
End of article. But yeah, epidemic of
suspicious
spy
pigeons.
pigeons.
Actually, you know, when you think about the number of pigeons out there in the world, maybe it's wrong to tar them all with this brush, because I think 3 out of roughly like 15 billion is probably not that higher risk. But I
think it's healthy to have a healthy distrust of pigeons.
If you see something, say something.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was the Bombay Police Department interrogating this pigeon, I'm guessing, questionable torture methods, truth serum, this kind of thing. If I was them...
What do you know? I imagine that they've got a big pigeon that's like part of the Bombay police force.
Yeah.
And it's like...
Yeah, with a little badge.
He now kind of acts like a... he acts like a human.
Yeah.
And so it's like he's like the translator.
Yeah.
And he plays good pigeon cop to the pigeon. He's like, your pigeon was way better than mine.
Yeah, thank you. The It's weird you say that because I'm reading a book about
Pigeons.
anthropomorphic rabbits.
Of course you are.
It was a gift. It was an award-winning fiction book.
Sounds like.
But it is about exactly that. About there's a rabbit who's like crossed over to the human side and is like really anti-rabbit, and it does like really aggressive interrogations and this kind of thing. So it was just a weird sort of parallel.
So it does happen.
Anyway, my original point was that if I was them and I had effectively a racing pigeon, I would have like Googled what that symbol was on the leg rings, maybe day 1, day 2, and sort of looked into it where it said like the number or something like that. Like done a little bit of a quick Goog, got someone in.
Could have done a Goog, but you know the cops these days, Nick, they got to get their quotas up.
They got to get the quotas.
So
they got to use.
You got to get X amount of pigeons per year arrested in order to take it to the chief of police.
Can I tell you a bird story?
Oh, I thought you'd never ask.
So Countdown, which is Woolworths, New Zealand, Countdown at the moment is having a bit of a national controversy around pests. There's a supermarket in Dunedin that has been shut down for a week and a half because there was 40 rats that they've caught in and around the premises. So they've shut it down and arrested all these rats and things because they have an ongoing pest problem. There was a photo that went viral last week, I think, of a Countdown where someone had taken a photo of a mouse sitting on the salad bowl, just eating food. Not great. These are all different locations. And then the bird one, there was a bird incident in an Auckland Countdown where there were pigeons getting in, and it turns out that they had worked out how to get to the loose nut dispensers, and they'd been able to get into the nuts and help themselves to effectively a bird food dispenser. And they've been flying in and just having a bit of a party and getting all the seeds and the nuts.
I think good for the birds.
Good for the birds.
It's a nice underbird story. You know, nuts are expensive, by the way.
They are so expensive. Great protein source.
Cost of living.
Healthy
cost
fats.
Of living. Who can blame these birds?
Yeah.
And trying to steal a bunch of walnuts.
Yeah.
Who can blame them? We're all kind of thinking about it.
You know what they say, like if you see someone stealing food at the supermarket, you didn't. Don't be a snitch. Don't tell on these birds. Clearly, they're having a tough time of it out there, as we all are. Just fucking look the other way, man. Eat your pecans. Get on with life. Or maybe just go for like the snakes, you know. Leave the nuts. Go to the lolly bins. Everyone wins.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, there's 6 minutes left.
Oh, you want to go right up to you want to walk out the door. I was probably just going to cut. I was going to cut it earlier.
All right. Okay. Where?
Sort of in the bird zone.
Halfway through my story.
I just fade you out.
Yeah. You've done it before.
I have faded you out before.
I liked it. I think more podcasts should fade out.